interested?
I'm waiting. You know.
Okay, that's nice.
It's
Yeah.
I'm just kind of in this state of uncertainty, not ambivalence. It's more like desperation. Like, please, dear God, let me get this vaccine.
Yeah.
Then I haven't done God a whole lot of favors, so
no,
I don't think he's gonna do me this favor.
I spoke to him, and he really wants to smite you. I don't know what that means.
Well, I don't know why he
means.
hasn't yet. I'm being real. I don't know why it hasn't happened.
You're sitting pretty plush.
I have been luckier than I should have.
You're sitting pretty plush.
In the eyes of the Lord.
You're sitting pretty plush over there.
It's weird.
That much.
Yeah, for how many blasphemies?
Yeah.
For how many goddams I've dropped?
You've
for
blasphemed
how many
every time that you've blasphemed every time for every hair there is on your neck right now.
For every hair of this neck beard.
Yeah, why don't we
there is an immortal sin. Okay.
We gotta start describing stuff by strands of hair again.
I think so.
I
think so. It's something we've come away from that we need to get back to.
Let's get real biblical. Let's start reading the Bible just to insult people.
Just biblical roasts, man.
Yeah,
really pop that off.
Yeah,
it's a really untapped market.
Yeah,
we should do this. We should do this.
We'll do that. But first, we're gonna do our episode today.
Okay.
And today we are discussing and going through the life and assassination of Fred Hampton, Black Panther leader, chairman of the Illinois Black Panther Party, and assassinated person by the U.S. various government entities. So
I'm ready. I don't know if I'm ready. I feel like I'm ready, but I might not be.
No, ready for all your feelings about everybody to be assuaged. Is assuaged the right word? To be confirmed. To be confirmed.
Cool. Right on.
So for today's podcast, the book I read was The Assassination of Fred Hampton by Jeffrey Haas. Jeffrey Haas is I think he was or still is a lawyer in Chicago that filed the civil rights suit against the FBI, Chicago Police Department, Cook County State's Attorney, for violating the civil rights of Fred Hampton and Mark Clark and other Black Panthers for the raid they did on December 4th, 1969.
So like the Vincent Bugliosi of Fred Hampton's case.
I wouldn't say that because he's a part of like this thing called the People's Law Office in Chicago. That's like they're like everywhere. They're at Attica. They're like you getting persecuted for any type of the police violence. They're doing that. They're everywhere. So they've done a lot of like. There's those people who went to law school and actually did what the fuck they said they were going to do when they got out.
Nice. Didn't become baristas or anything like that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right on.
And they were poor because of it. I don't think, not poor. I think for sure they made
a lot of honorable but pro bono work out there.
They've gotten some money. I want to say.
All right.
So that's what we'll do. Let's get into the story of Fred Hampton and his assassination. Fred Hampton was born on August 30th, 1948 in Argo, Illinois, or was presently Summit, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago's southwest side. He was born to Francis and Iberia Hampton. His parents were from Louisiana. They moved as part of the Great Migration, and they both worked. His parents were like factory workers or Argo Starch Company. I'm pretty sure I've used that product. I don't. You know what I mean? The interesting fact about Fred Hampton's childhood is one of his neighbors and somebody that his mom would occasionally babysit was Emmett Till. And Emmett Till, of course, of the murdering of Emmett Till in Money, Mississippi, after he supposedly whistled at a white woman. And the thing that they say in this book that the rumor is around the people who lived around Emmett Till in Chicago was that he actually didn't whistle. He had a lisp.
Yeah. When did we discuss this on a prior episode?
No, I think we talked about it just in conjunction with this, that he had a lisp.
Yeah.
And interesting thing happens to Fred Hampton when he's young. He like cracks like some teeth in his mouth.
Yeah.
And then like he has a temporary lisp. He has a lisp for a little bit.
Mm.
And this is after the killing of Emmett Till. So in the book,
he's like, I better get as far away from this lisp as possible.
The book speculates that that's one of the reasons why he's such a great speaker, is because he had to speak very clearly and widely, openly, because to get away from that list that he might have been deathly afraid of because of Emmett Till's death.
Deathly afraid of
literally. So in 1958, the family moved to Maywood, a West Chicago suburb, and Fred was bullied for having what in the Black community we call a peanut head. You familiar with that? It's where you have one part of the head and you have that little dip. You seen that shit? And then the other part of your head's big. It's like it's a head style that you get made fun of a lot of. And but because of that, people call it, they say he had peanut head. And he developed.
There's like a little basin.
It's your head looks like a peanut. The top of your head looks like a peanut. Like I have it a little bit where your head just goes down like right here. Yeah, it's weird.
It's like flat, or there's like a concave.
It's a little bit down. It's just a little bit it goes a little bit down, and it looks a little like the top of a peanut.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that's pretty insulting.
Yeah.
But pretty funny.
So because of that, and getting made fun of that, he developed the ability to trash talk. And he was one of the best. Everybody was like, "Yo, he can talk shit.
That'll do it." Yeah.
Talk shit as good as anybody. And he was known for talking shit and going a little bit too far. And then, I'm sorry,
shit,
man.
Oh, hell yeah. That's mine. It's a great pastime to have. It's like chewing gum, only vitriol.
Only vitriolic, yeah. He was his teachers. High school noticed that he was extremely well read. Some say he would wake up and read 2 hours before starting the day. He would tape record and memorize the speeches of MLK and MLK and Malcolm X. And he would go to Reverend Clay Evans' church on Drexel Ave and practice his preaching techniques and talking techniques. At Proviso East High School. In Maywood, he campaigned and got more Black teachers, and he organized against a policy only allowing white girls to be homecoming queen, and then got the first Black homecoming queen. He was appointed by the school staff, the head of an interracial council at his high school, and he was even called back after he graduated to calm down racial tensions at the school. He worked as a dishwasher and a factory worker. And he would find jobs for other unemployed kids, and he pushed the village of Maywood. This is all during high school to fund a summer jobs program.
Yeah, this is a hell of a record for.
This is a crazy record for high school.
Yeah.
This
is a full ride.
Yeah.
For a modern day full ride at
Harvard.
Harvard. Yeah.
Harvard. Yeah. And then also he was, one of his things that kind of continued after high school and through high school was he advocated for a pool in this neighborhood because his neighborhood was on the far southwest side, and it was outside the city limits, so they couldn't go those pools were too far, and then they were very far from Lake Lake Michigan in Chicago. Mm-hmm. So they were just he programmed, we need a pool recreation center. And he graduated with honors from Proviso East High School, and people started to recognize his work, and he became active with the NAACP. And he assumed leadership right out of high school of its Western Suburb Branches Youth Council. Now, this is kind of fucking insane. It's kind of fucking insane for you to be this good at all this shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is
really
bad,
Yale. Yale, Harvard.
You can join Skull and Bones.
Yeah, they would be yeah. So, again, working with NAACP, he was working.
I actually don't know if you can join Skull and Bones.
I don't know. I think you need
I don't know if there is a racial divide within Skull and Bones.
They take
I
Black
want to think
now.
There is, but I don't know.
I do think they take them, but I don't know. I have
no
clue.
Know.
I'm not.
I don't. They're pretty secretive, so I can't really.
Yeah.
They're kind of a black box, so I can't I don't know. If there's any Black Skull and Bones members listening to this podcast, please reach out and set the record straight. Okay.
Yeah. So again, with working with the NAACP, was kind of working on to get a pool and recreation facilities around Maywood. In 1966, I think at the time Fred Hammond was 17 or 18. MLK, Martin Luther King Jr., came to Chicago to campaign against racial discrimination in jobs, housing, and schools. Unsuccessfully. this is the part about MLK's like hair, like mythology that like we leave out, like that post 1965 until his assassination in 68, where he like goes north and people in north are like, oh no, dog. like we just leave out like that he had this program about kind of stopping the militarization, stopping, kind of fighting poverty, and I forgot the last plank of it, but like that, like all of a sudden, like everybody was just like, you've gone too far. Like, okay. All the people who were with them in the north is like, you got too far. So when MLK came to Chicago,
because it's basically the same shit that he's doing south. He's just trying to take it to the north, and it's just not catching.
Yeah. It's
still lumping, man.
Yeah,
I guess. I don't know.
No, I know the people were with it. The black people were with it. It's just the white people in Chicago not feeling it. Like his marchers were met by mobs throwing rocks and people dressed as Nazis. MLK was struck by a rock in Marquette Park. MLK, this famous quote about this time, it says, "Swastikas bloomed in Chicago's parks like misbegotten weeds." Like,
all right.
Yeah. Look at you,
blossoming swastika.
Yeah. So
that's gross.
After an anti-protester spin the woman's face on a march, Fred was like, I can't keep marching for nonviolence in the face of like these violent mobs. So, and just in the background, what's happening the next year in May 1967, 30 Black Panthers, of course, the Black Panthers founded in 1966 in Oakland, went to California's state legislature to protest a bill that would not allow them to carry unconcealed weapons. And this like galvanizes a lot of Black youth because it's a more militant approach to what they see as what of course is unfair treatment, right? So in 1967, at a rally of young people in Maywood, Fred Hampton urged people to come to a Maywood Village board meeting to press their demands for a public swimming pool and recreation center. Still, very kid-like shit that he's asking for.
Yeah, still about the pools, man. Yeah. You gotta expand this platform a little bit. You can't build a whole lot of public support. Pools can't be your only thing. He's
doing like police brutality work and all stuff like that, and he's doing jobs work also. But like this incident where he's like tell people, hey, come to this village board meeting so we can get a pool and recreation center is kind of what starts a lot off. So a lot of people came to the village board meeting, the Maywood Village Board meeting, and most were not let inside. Fred urged the board to find a larger space or let people stand. The Maywood police panicked and tear gassed the people who had not been let in. This angers the crowd of young people. They rioted, broke windows, threatened residents, and then seeking a scapegoat after, Fred and another organizer are charged with mob action because of their speeches. And then that is the incident that makes the FBI open a file on Fred Hampton.
Jesus. With all this talk of tear gas and demonstrations becoming riotous, it's good to know that we've come so far away.
We've
progressed so far as a society,
ability to handle a riot has come so far.
they've got it down, they've really figured it out.
Now, Fred Hampton and the FBI opening a file on him as part of course, COINTELPRO, where J. Edgar Hoover is trying to present the rise of a Black Messiah, as he terms it, and Fred Hampton's talent for effective leadership and talent for communication marked him as a major threat by the FBI. And they kept close tabs on his activity. Later, specifically, his want to form a rainbow coalition, which would unite the kind of the Black Panthers, the Young Patriots, which were a Chicago organization of like Appalachian migrants and poor and working class whites who like were organizing on kind of like socialist principles, and then the Young Lords, a Puerto Rican organization. They were trying to unite,
so like a multiracial coalition of people with similar ideas.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to say, we're going to talk about this later, but J. Edgar Hoover basically got his start cracking down on Black activists. Yeah. So, and he found his niche. So good for him, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. like it's crazy. So that was one thing that was particularly threatened by that Rainbow Coalition. The FBI tapped Hampton's mother's phone in February 1968, and by May of that same year, it placed Hampton on the Bureau's agitator index as a key militant leader. This is 2 years after. This is a year after he's just organizing to get a new pool.
I just want pools, man. I don't know how militant pools that
I just want fucking pools,
unsanitary pools that all these kids piss in all the time. I don't know how militant that is.
And maybe just like police not to beat the shit out.
Like, I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know if I'm asking a whole lot.
Yeah, asking a fucking lot for that.
Not get beat. Like that's it.
So Hampton was quickly becoming attracted to the Black Panther's approach, which was based on the 10-point program that integrated Black self-determination with class and economic critiques from Maoism. This is the 10-point program. 1, we want freedom. We want power to determine the destiny of the Black community. 2, we want full employment for our people. 3, we want an end to the robbery by capitalists of our Black and oppressed communities. 4, we want decent housing fit for shelter of human beings. 5, we want education for our people that exposes them to the true nature of the decadent American society. We want education that teaches us our true history and our role in the present day society. 6, we want all Black men to be exempt from military service. 7, we want an immediate end to police brutality and the murder of Black people. 8, we want freedom for all Black men held in federal, state, county, and city prisons and jails. 9, we want all Black people, when brought to trial, to be tried in a court by a jury of their peer group or people from their Black communities, as determined by the Constitution of the United States. And 10, we want land, bread, housing, education, clothing, justice, and peace. Not that crazy of a. I mean, other than like the police, the prison abolitionists, like it's not that. Yeah. I mean, which I wouldn't. I have my own opinions on prison abolitionists, like prison abolitionment. This isn't, in that not being that crazy. This is not that crazy of
not that like, much.
This is not a part of the mainstream of now.
Yeah, like, 9 and 10 or 10 is interesting because it says land and bread, and like Lenin had a slogan that was peace, land and bread. So it's interesting to see how the language is modeled. And then with 9, that's actually a very strong legal argument to where you're promised to be tried in front of a jury of your peers.
Yeah.
And it's, you're basically saying like, my peers are Black because we're not fully integrated yet.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of like, if I'm tried in front of a bunch of white people, you can say that I'm not being tried by my peers. Yeah. You could ask the white jurors, do they consider me a peer?
Yeah.
And they would probably say no. Like it goes to the definition of peerhood, I guess, or what a peer constitutes. But there's an argument to be made there.
Yeah, of course. And I know we're not going to get into a lot of the depths of the legal trial. And that is more covered in the actual book by Jeffrey Haas, because it stops at, of course, Fred Hampton dies, and then he carries on the legal case and he breaks down how the legal case unfolds and them getting jurors that are Black and the state restricting how many jurors that they could get that were Black. So Hampton
there's even instances now, and this is like a broader thing about like, I don't know what the rules are, and if they must break down by state, but like prosecutors and defense attorneys are allowed 1 strike each. And if there's just a verified, not even just a crazy person, but somebody who's really gonna be adamant, like you can strike them. Just be like, no, we don't want this person.
That, of course, that comes all up in the book. And like, if you want a detailed analysis of like the case and like this, how fucked up the judicial system in Illinois is, read the book.
So in Illinois?
Yeah, I mean, okay. No, I get. It's all over. I get it. Hampton joined the party's nascent Illinois chapter in November 1968, and he quickly ascended. So it's November 1968. Remember that date. That's when he has joined the Black Panthers. So the Black Panthers in Chicago under
at age 20.
Age 20, basically. Yeah, age 20. Black Panthers in Chicago under Fred Hampton's leadership. This is like their daily activities. They spend much of the day like securing food for the Breakfast for Children program, which served free hot breakfast for kids before school. Then they supervised the kids eating before school. Then they cleaned up afterward. The rest of the day was split between selling newspapers, interviewing people, and getting questionnaires on their needs and priorities, getting petitions for community control of police signed, and attending political education classes and maintaining the office. Like
that Breakfast for Children's program,
yeah,
I applaud them
yeah,
just for getting up that early.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
When does public school start? You got to be
Yeah.
there at like 7. You got to cook the food. You got to wake up at like 4:30 or 5 or something. I'm like,
yeah. No, they were
this
getting
guy-
up early as fuck, going and getting food from like who knows wherever, just to give the kids like, and that was like most of what they did.
Mhm.
In 1969, the FBI special agent in charge of San Francisco wrote to J. Edgar Hoover that that he had investigated the Black Panthers. He was like, most of what they do is just giving kids food. And Hoover responded with a memo implying that the agent's career prospects depended on supplying evidence to support Hoover's view that the Black Panther Party was a violence-prone organization seeking to overthrow the government by revolutionary means. So,
Hoover.
he's just a
Hoover.
madman, an insane person. So particularly we talk about like women in the Panthers. Also, in how Fred Hampton, as kind of the chairman, would kind of operate. There was like kind of an anecdote about like this lady being like, hey, like this lady got a call at the Black Panther office in Chicago, and she was like, hey, there's some brothers from the West Coast are here, like them leadership people, and they want you to send some girls down, some Panther sisters down to their hotel. And then Fred Hampton's like, you could tell them Panther women in Chicago are working on Panther programs, not as whores for the Panther leadership.
Nice.
And this kind of scores differently from like how a lot of people in the like this like change movements in the late 60s, early 70s were like, they would be all for this change, but then be misogynistic.
Yeah.
There's an alleged quote by Stokely Carmichael, who was the leader of SNCC, the Student Nonviolence Organizing Council Committee, something like that. And allegedly, he said the only position for women, for Black women in SNCC, for the only position for women in SNCC was prone.
What is prone?
Just laying down.
Oh.
Yeah, like a real weirdo.
Okay.
Allegedly.
Stokely Carmichael.
Stokely Carmichael. Yeah.
I'm already not trusting the man's name. Stokely Carmichael.
He was a Black Panther for a little bit. He's like a real, like he has a lot of like good things that he did, but I think one thing that they particularly say about him was he's not good with
lacking on women's issues.
Yeah, women's rights. And out of this frustration in these like change movements, then blossoms with women, then blossoms like the women's rights movements, because they're like, wait, how we can demand all these
and
rights
like
over here.
Second wave feminism in the 70s and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's.
I don't know if it's second wave, if not third. I think it's second wave.
I'm not that sure. Detailed on that, so I'm gonna just leave that.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
So in essence, they said their mission was to heighten the contradiction between like the government and how things were ran and how they were providing things for people, and we'll get you to question like why these people should run things, because they're providing things with as little. What if we gave them everything and put them in charge?
Yeah.
Now
well, it's like they're basically doing what Ho Chi Minh said to do, which is like, don't talk about doing it, just go out there and do it. Provide for the needs, build the platform based on tangible and provable results. You know, you're going out there and you're saying problem, solution. It's not like you don't have to deal with all the layers of bureaucratic red tape around it. You're just going out there in the world and doing it.
Yeah. And it's a weird thing that happens, like, and also with Ho Chi Minh, it's also very similar in, I feel like, Fred Hampton's whole style, in that Ho Chi Minh does like, he becomes like a almost a Confucius type teacher, but in the verse of communism.
Yeah.
Fred Hampton becomes almost a gospel preacher in the verse of socialism and Black empowerment.
Okay.
You know? So there was another thing, they're like selling these newspapers on like the corners. They're operating in Chicago, and they're operating like within like gang turfs. And Fred Hampton would go to like gang leaders and be like, hey, I don't got nothing to do, I just want to have the ability to sell my newspapers on the corner and have just free range to provide resources for the community. And particularly he linked up with the with David Barksdale of the creator, I think the founder of the BDs, Black Disciple Nation, which is a notorious gang in Chicago. When he went to go talk to Jeff Fort, who was the founder or leader of the Blackstone Rangers. I think they've like became now the Black P Stones. It's a notorious Chicago gang. Where I used to live at in LA, they used to have like a section that was like Bloods across the street. So he went to like Jeff Fort. He went to Jeff Fort and he was like, I want to do the same thing. I just want to sell my newspapers, do all this type of stuff, operate within your turf, and like asking him permission. And Jeff Fort was like, with your network, bro, if you got to start selling drugs, you could be rich. He's like, and Fred Hampton's like, I don't want to do any of that. That's not my bag. That's not what I'm into. And just to see how cleverly and crazy and like insane the FBI is, they're like writing letters. They wrote a letter to Jeff Fort about the Black Panthers. And the letter, the letter pretty much goes like this. And this is written by FBI agents, just assuming like an anonymous Black person. Like they go, Brother Jeff, I've spent some time with Panther friends on the West Side lately, and I know what's been going on. The brothers that run the Panthers blame you for blocking their thing, and they're supposed to be a hit out for you. I'm not a Panther or a Ranger, just Black. From what I see, these Panthers are out for themselves, not Black people. I think you ought to know what they're up to. I know what I'd do if I was you. You might hear from me again, a Black brother you don't know. Written by an FBI agent.
Damn, bro. Why are you in love with me? No, it seems like they're in love with the Panthers and are just like getting jealous of Jeff Fort and be like, I'm gonna message him on Facebook and let him know all the shitty things the Black Panthers have done. Make sure that he stays away from Jeff Fort. Is like, can you get off my dick, please?
So Jeff Fort is like kind of antagonistic towards the Black Panthers, because that rift is growing, and
which I know I said get off my dick, but if you look at J. Edgar Hoover, there are rumors. Okay,
that's a different thing. Yeah, no, he
about J. Edgar Hoover, a whole different thing, whole different box, whole different thing you can explore.
There's a lot. That's a whole different path. There's a lot. There's a lot going on over there. And in late 1968, the Racial Matter Squad of the FBI Chicago field office recruited William O'Neill to work with it. And William O'Neill did this. He was recruited by Roy Mitchell, FBI agent, and in exchange for his felony charges being dropped and a monthly stipend, O'Neill agreed to infiltrate the Black Panther Party as part of a counterintelligence program. That's kind of as an operative. And like William O'Neill was doing like the weirdest shit all the time. Like he rose to be like the head of security for the Chicago Black Panthers.
This is who you were telling me this is who like the movie explores.
This is the movie explores that coming out on HBO and like in theaters. Explores William O'Neill and Fred Hampton. It kind of duels them as the Judas and the Christ, Judas and the Messiah. You know what I mean? Kind of duels them up. I think I haven't seen it yet. So William O'Neill will like do shit like he made a defense system that was like just like that involved an electric chair. He would just show up randomly with like explosives and be like, yo, we should bomb some shit. Like he was the most obvious FBI agent I've ever seen in my life. He was the one they would say who was always pressing for action. Let's go shoot somebody. Let's go bomb some shit. That's like Fred Hampton saw like his electric chair set up and he was like, what the fuck are you?
Wait, he just had a homemade electric chair?
Yeah, he like made an electric chair, like type electric fence around the Black Panther office. Like some like electric chair defense system rig up. And like Fred Hampton like was like, are you fucking stupid?
Nothing weird here. Don't worry about it.
Are you an idiot? And he like demoted him. He got demoted for that because he was like, are you a fucking...
William O'Neill just like, I just wanted to see if I could do it, you know? I just wanted to see if it was possible.
He had like O'Neill like always had like a nice car. He always had money and they didn't know that it was coming from the FBI. And then, like it's a thing where I've seen, I think this happened in the Houston offshoot of the Black Panthers. I think in the New York, Los Angeles, like in the Los Angeles kind of at the West Coast Black Panthers, also the security person is always the fucking. They're always the mole. They're always the informant. They're always playing both sides. It reminds me of you ever seen Stalag 17?
Mm-hmm.
It's a World War II movie about American POWs in a German POW in a German camp. And one of the guys is getting like they all think he's the informant because he's like a kind of a gambling shifty kind of guy. It's like a 1947-48 movie, and he like at the end he's like, this is a spoiler alert if you want to see Stalag 17. Spoiler alert. At the end he's like, yeah, security. He goes up to the guy that named security. Yeah, security. You're always checking people, but who checks security? He's like, where were you when Pearl Harbor happened? And the guy's like, I was having dinner with my family, like any good American's. He's like, they were having lunch in Cleveland. They were having dinner in Berlin. It's one of the greats. I love that movie. I fucking love that. You're not as excited about it as I am. Okay, that's fine.
It's okay. I'm sure I'll watch it. I hope I'll watch it. I want to watch it.
Oh, the greatest last line ever of a movie. He like that like shifty guy. And he's like, as he leaves, he's like, look, and if I see any of you guys in New York City, I see you out on the street and we see each other, let's just make like we never met. And he disappears. It's amazing.
Oh, he did it.
Yeah.
Oh, he did it. He did something.
No. He's just a shifty guy. So in May 1969, there's the ice cream truck case where Fred Hampton is accused by Cook County that he stole a bunch of ice cream.
Cook County, Illinois?
Yeah, Cook County, Illinois, which is in Chicago. Which is Chicago, with the county Chicago's in. That he stole a bunch of ice cream and just gave it to kids, and he basically robbed this ice cream truck. The crazy case where they brought back the ice cream truck driver from Vietnam, which seems like there's no vested interest in it, just bringing back guys back from Vietnam.
Bring them back. Yeah, you can spare this one. You know, you're losing. I don't know if they're losing the war at this point.
Yeah,
1969, but
I mean, no. So yeah, like it's like kind of a bullshit case. Somebody comes out and is like, yeah, I did that. Like somebody's like, I did that. That kind of looks like Fred Hampton. They still convict him. They try to defer and give him probation, and then they give him 2 to 5 years. They give him 2 to 5 years. He gets out of this. He gets out of this. He's like back on the street later in the year. So and then the guy pushing
going back to the guy, I would be thankful.
Yeah.
For that ice cream truck. Yeah. You know, like that's something that I would never anticipate as a result of
course.
Like when I made the purchase of that ice cream truck, I never thought like, oh, one day this thing is gonna get me out of some hot shit in the middle of the Mekong Delta. Yeah. This ice cream truck is gonna save my life one day. I just thought I might be slinging cones to kids at a newly built public pool in some suburb outside of the official district of Chicago. You know?
Yeah, no, he's not like, nobody buys an ice cream truck like this is gonna get me out of Vietnam.
This is gonna get me out of Vietnam. This is my ticket out. All right, I'm gonna. You'll see. The guy make fun of me now, but you'll see.
The guy pushing that ice cream truck case is this guy named Edward Hanrahan, who is the Cook County State's attorney. He's like this Irish guy, went to Harvard, and he's Mayor Richard Daley's handpicked like successor. He refers to the Panthers as a gang, and presents himself as the bastion of law and order and defender against like chaos, and particularly like he terms himself like black chaos or anything like that. You know, the really get a piece of
man, he should run for president.
Piece of shit. in 1969, he creates a special prosecutions unit to deal with gangs. Even though there's already a GIU, a gang intelligence unit in the Chicago Police Department. And Fred Hampton like just talking shit on him all the time, saying he thinks that this war on gangs is just an excuse to wage a war on black youth and persecute black youth. People in this guys in this special prosecutors unit, Richard Jalovec leads SPU, and he has members such as Officer James Gloves Davis, which is a black Chicago police officer known as Gloves because he used to put on gloves where he beat the shit out of black youth. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
Like he wanted a layer between the skin. You know,
Yeah.
that's
He's just
that's
a
weird.
real piece of shit. Just
Yeah.
a real piece of shit.
But also maybe aware of it, and that's why he wore the gloves to
Yeah.
like distance himself from the action.
I think
you
it's a
know?
calling card. I think it's
Yeah.
a super the worst superhero of all time. I'm gloves.
Mhm. I'm gloves.
I just beat up
Why
black
they
youth.
call you glove?
Yeah. So FBI raids the Black Panther like headquarters in Chicago. Chicago's west side of it's on the west side, I think. On June 4th, 1969, and the police the FBI raids on June 4th, 1969, and the police raid on October 4th, 1969. There's like a bunch of reports from the people who got arrested that the officers were beating Panthers and dumped the food out for the breakfast program.
Gee, come on, man.
And if you're like doubting, oh, the police can't do this, this is just all bullshit. This is the same Chicago Police Department that in 1972, Chicago police officer John Burge at the Area 2 police headquarters ran a torture program from 1972 to 1991 that included interrogation tactics. The tactics included that John Burge and his midnight crew did were mock executions, genital electrocution, and then also beating people with telephone books, flashlights, batons, and baseball bats. Some victims described being burned either by their flesh or pressed against hot radiators, having cigarettes put out on them. They were suffocated with plastic typewriter covers. Other torture survivors reported having guns put in their heads or in their mouth or being stuck with cattle prods. In 1991, the city of Chicago acknowledged that John Burge tortured the suspect. In 1993, the Chicago Police Board voted to terminate Burge. That same year, the Fraternal Order of Police made plans to honor Burge and 4 other officers accused of torture and brutality with a parade float in the city's Southside Irish parade. The theme of the float was canceled in response to public outcry. So like this is the police.
So just like a domestic Guantanamo.
Yeah.
In some warehouse in Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Inflicting cruel and unusual punishment. Like this, and this is cool.
Yeah. No, then this guy.
You see, that's the thing about American history. Every time that I read something or I hear something or I read something and I'm like, I'm so shocked. And then I put it in context with everything else that American did. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm not so shocked anymore. Yeah.
So, of course, they're getting raided. They're like the police are fucking with them. The FBI is fucking with them. So the rhetoric starts ramping up because their whole thing is they're kind of formed in this nexus of like a post MLK kind of movement in that like we're not just gonna sit here and take the bullshit. So like, you know, of course they're saying there's a kind of a popular refrain among Black Panthers: you kill one pig, you get some satisfaction. You kill all the pigs, you get complete satisfaction. You got Fred Hampton running around talking you got Fred Hampton like at speeches doing let me read this from Jeffrey Austin's book, saying it takes 2 to tango, motherfucker. As soon as you kick down that door, I have to kick it back on you. We don't lock our doors. We just get some good ass guns and leave them motherfuckers open. And which is like, all right, cool. If you're about that life, be about that life. And that's dope. Like stand up for your shit. But then like they didn't really have any actual defenses. It was more just like talk. They didn't really have like an actual like, if they really kick down this door, we're gonna fucking blow them back. They didn't have that really planned out. In this instance, I don't know about so it was like,
if you're gonna talk like that, you gotta arm up.
Yeah. And that's the thing. They were mostly just still doing their breakfast program in their medical clinics. So in early October, Hampton and his pregnant girlfriend, Deborah Johnson, rented a 4.5 room apartment at I think a 4-bedroom apartment at 2337 West Monroe Street to be closer to Black Panther headquarters. Again, through the book, it was no like defense strategy for like the chairman's place. You know what I mean? And even if they are talking like that, that does not give anybody the excuse to murder them.
No,
just kind of giving that clearance. Yeah, that like,
of course not.
So kind of the events kind of leading up to December 4th, October 5th, 1969. John Soto, who is a kid who's like 17, who's fucking leading protests to get a crosswalk a traffic light installed on a corner, like a few blocks away from Fred Hampton's apartment, is apparently it's killed by the police after he fought with police and then they accidentally shot him.
With a knife, right? They were cleaning the gun. And
they were cleaning the gun. Yeah, no.
Side of the gun. It just shot out off and
Bass
happened to be pointed in the direction of John Soto. Okay, right.
Bass shot out. Then his brother Michael Soto returns home from the army. Actually, I think he's returning home from Vietnam for his brother's funeral. And then 5 days later, he's killed by the police in they chased him up some stairs and then they shot him also. And like people like they like be like, oh, it's just a coincidence. No, this doesn't seem like a fucking coincidence.
Not at all.
So in November,
they don't even have an excuse for that one. Like the other one was like, oh, we accidentally shot him. Like, do you accidentally shoot this guy as he was running up the stairs away from you guys?
Yeah, I think they said he had a gun, which is like, all right, you
you
start killing two brothers, like it's wild. Like
5 days apart from each other. That's
sick. It's sick.
Yeah.
In November 1969, Hampton traveled to California, met with the National Black Panther Party leadership at UCLA. They offered him the position as on the central community. They offered him a position on the central committee as the chief of staff, and they asked him to serve as the national spokesman for the Black Panther Party, which would have been electrifying because he has. If you haven't heard how he speaks, it's really good, dude. It's really good. So while Hampton was out of town, two Chicago police officers, John J. Gilhooly, and I don't know how to say his name, John J. Gilhooly, John J. Gilhooly, and Frank G. Rappaport were fatally shot in a gun battle with Panthers on the night of November 13th. Total of 9 police officers were shot. 19-year-old Panther Spurgeon Winter Jr. was killed by police, and another Panther, Lawrence S. Bell, was charged for the murder. I think, and I might be misquoting this, but I'm pretty sure then the Panthers named a clinic after Spurgeon Winter. So it's just ramping now. It's ramping up. It feels like it's fucking
escalating.
It's escalating. So back in Chicago on the evening of December 3rd, Hampton taught a political education course at a local church, attended by a lot of members. Afterward, several Panthers went to his Monroe Street apartment to spend the night, including Fred Hampton, his girlfriend, and his mother of his child, Deborah Johnson, Blair, and then Blair Anderson, James Grady, Ronald Doc Satchel, Harold Bell, Verlena Brewer, Louis Trulark, and Brenda Harris, and Mark Clark. They were met there by William O'Neill, who had prepared dinner, and the group ate around midnight. This is where O'Neill slips barbiturates into Hampton's food. And then Hampton is like kind of falls asleep on the phone with his mother, some reports say. And then he's like passed out. And then O'Neill slipped out around 1:30 a.m. And then Fred Hampton was like not known to take drugs. Like they said they saw him with a beer once or twice. And later people like a coroner report that he had barbiturates in his system, which was like, so he was like,
Now, was it just Hampton's food that he put barbiturates in? Okay.
Yeah, it seems like that. Because nobody else was like reporting this. Like, so when the raid happens, right, on December 4th, 1969, which is at 4 a.m. in the morning, they knew that the Panthers would be away at 8 p.m. on December 3rd, but they decided to come at 4 a.m. when they specifically would all be there. The raid was done by that SPU, Special Prosecutors Unit, and it was the people on the raid followed a floor plan drawn by William O'Neill. Now, the floor plan is one of the craziest parts of this because the floor plan is given to the officers by Roy Mitchell, the FBI agent. And the floor plan specifically outlines the bedrooms, but it specifically outlines in details where Fred Hampton's bed is. So at 4 a.m., the heavily armed police arrived at the site, and at 4:45 they stormed to the apartment. So this is it's a little bit difficult to explain it all. If you really want a detailed depiction of it, again, I would read The Assassination of Fred Hampton by Jeffrey House. They basically either shot through the door or kicked the door down. And then they stormed into the apartment. Mark Clark is sitting in the front room with the shotgun in his lap because he's on security duty. The police shot him in the chest, killing him instantly. And as he like is dying, he kind of cocks back and shoots a shotgun in the air, and it shoots into the ceiling. And that is the only bullet that the Panthers fired. The rest of the bullets, like 90 to 99 bullets, are fired by the police as they storm through this apartment.
And he shot in response to the door being kicked in.
He shot. He didn't even. It's speculated he didn't even shoot in response. It was speculated that
he shot after he already been shot.
He had been shot, and he had a reaction to it, and just went and shot up at the ceiling.
So self-defense, like that. He's been shot.
No,
so
I mean,
that shot that he fired was fired.
He's already dead.
Technically, yeah. He's already dead. Yeah, but if you were to like chop it up, he would. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's been shot, then he shoots in response to that. His shot being self-defense, and any other shot after that is just,
of course,
excessive police force.
Yeah, and of course, I wouldn't even say again. Saying that he shot is like. Yeah, you got killed. You know that when you're doing like in a movie, just go up, pow, like
yeah. So,
it's like a reaction of just like dying. But yeah, he's the only person that shot a gun. So Hampton's drugged by Barbiturates, right? And he's just still he's asleep. His girlfriend's wife is trying to wake him up, right? And they're moving throughout the police are moving throughout the apartment, just shooting. There are like no holes, like I'll get to later what they say. But there are like no holes where Panthers would have shot at them. There are no bullet casings or anything signifying that any Panther shot after that Mark Clark shot. Hampton's drugged by barbiturates. He asleep on the mattress with his fiance. She was forcibly removed from the room before the police officers shot at Hampton as his body lay unconscious. They wounded him in the shoulder. And then fellow Black Panthers said that they heard the following exchange. That's Fred Hampton. They're all like in the living room. So at this point, they hear this exchange. That's Fred Hampton. Is he dead? Bring him out. He's barely alive. He'll make it. The injured Panthers say they heard 2 shots. According to Hampton's supporters, the shots were fired point blank at Hampton's head. And according to Deborah Johnson, his mother of his child, she heard an officer say, he's good and dead now. Hampton's body was then dragged into the doorway of the bedroom and left in a pool of blood. Like there's pictures, you can find the pictures. He's like in like polka dot boxers, and like there's a bunch of blood. There's like he did a pool of his own blood and just died, well dead. So yeah, then the officers like proceeded to like shoot at the remaining Panthers who didn't shoot back. And then those Panthers were then dragged out and then beaten by police officers and then dragged out to the street. Just kind of some of the wounds, the injuries to the other people at the scene. Ronald Satchel, one of the 3 occupants in the middle bedroom, received 5 gunshots from a machine gun. 2 in the in the right abdomen, one in the long left finger, 1 in the right thumb, and 1 in the right thigh. Verlina Brewer, 17, suffered two gunshot wounds from the machine gun, 1 in the left buttock, 1 in the left buttocks, 1 in the right knee, with fracture of the tibia. Blair Anderson, 18, had 3 gunshot wounds from the machine gun, 1 in the left thigh, at the base of its penis, and in the right thigh. The last bullet was not removed. And Brenda Harris, 19, who like Clark had been in the living room, was shot twice, once in the right thigh and once in the left hand. And 2 Chicago police officers, Officer John Sizwitsky and Edward Carmody, suffered minor injuries.
Will they stub their toe?
I don't know. Unless you're the fucking SEALs. And these people, like, if they have guns and like, let's say the fucking Navy SEALs couldn't get through a fucking a apartment like this.
Okay, so
if there's people shooting back at them, but if there's nobody shooting back,
you can
do whatever with nobody shooting back.
Go crazy.
Yeah,
I don't.
Yeah.
Did they have a warrant?
No,
like
so
even just a manufactured paper thin bullshit warrant.
So the warrant was like illegally gotten, and that goes more into like the after part of the case
details.
where they kind of manufacture like all the shit to say that they had illegal guns or they had all the stuff when those things weren't true, and who they got them from and who that's all about. And you would have to read.
So they had a manufactured warrant made after the occurrence.
They had a warrant, but the warrant was for weapons. And if I'm remembering correctly, and I might be misquoting, the warrant for like illegal for weapons legally purchased. And it was like, they had
so not even illegal weapons. They had a warrant for weapons that were perfectly legal.
Yeah, and I think there's some fudging about like that they thought that they were illegal, but like it had been reported that they were legal weapons, that they had all been purchased by Black Panthers legally. So like that's a deeper, you have to go into the actual like casework and look at that. And
then second question, well, fuck. Because it makes
give up.
It doesn't make sense. It's twisted. If that's your intel that they have a bunch of illegal weapons, but that's bullshit. Like what warrants machine guns? This heavily armed special unit to barge in with machine guns of all things on a manufactured warrant that you know is bullshit.
Yeah,
it's I don't know.
It makes sense. It makes sense when you look at the floor plan, and the floor plan has one detail outlined, which is Fred Hampton's bed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why else would you go through the trouble of collecting all that intel if not? It's a political assassination. It's nothing else.
No. So at a press conference the next day, the police also one last thing, at the morning of the raid, they basically started, the police officer kind of slipped and said, "Yo, Bobby Rush is next," and Bobby Rush was like the second in command of the Black Panther Party. He is now your U.S. representative for Illinois' 1st congressional district. So
damn, they were feeling very confident after this. They were feeling good about themselves.
Yeah. So and then they go to his apartment like a couple of days later and do a raid there. At a press conference the next day, the police announced the arrest team had been attacked by violent and extremely vicious Panthers and had defended themselves accordingly. In a second press conference, they said the assault team praised the assault team for having remarkable restraint, bravery, and professional discipline in not killing all the Panthers present.
So, all right. We should be thankful that they didn't kill all of them.
Be thankful I didn't murder everybody in this apartment.
But we didn't, and therefore you should thank us for our mercy and forbearance, and that we only killed one and more. Was it only one? Did the others die from subsequent injuries?
Killed two. Mark Clark and Fred Hampton. Two dead.
We only killed two, as opposed. Okay.
And Mark Clark, just a kid.
Full of shit. That's bullshit.
Mark Clark, literally just a kid. He's 18. He's a kid from Peoria, Illinois, who has started a food program in like a mock Panther food program, and he's come down to Chicago to see how they're doing things, so he can take it back to Peoria, Illinois, so he can feed kids.
So you can feed kids. You killed two black youths for feeding children.
For feeding children, yes, that's
okay. Yeah, and getting pools. And,
and trying to get pools and shit. So people see. So Fred Hampton, his visits they put him up in when he's dead. Of course, he has visitation at a funeral home where people view his body. People see his body in the same funeral home where Emmett Till was visited at, kind of in a weird circle. Like it was, it's weird. Hampton's funeral was attended by 5,000 people. He was eulogized by Black leaders. O'Neill asked to be a pallbearer and was one of the people crying the most at the funeral. On December the 6th, after the raid, members of the Weather Underground, which is like a white kind of organization, destroyed numerous police vehicles in a retaliatory bombing spree at 3600 North Halsted Street in Chicago. They were like a white organization that like went underground and did like kind of bombings all throughout the I think the late 60s. I think it's more the early 70s. Also, Fred Hampton like did not like their tactics. He called them customistic, and like, but they like trying to show like he was even like he was very not like he was for defense, but not like just attacks. I guess. I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like after they're willing to assassinate leaders, like I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
So just kind of some of like the background evidence. Photographs supplied by Harahan's office to the Chicago Tribune. And gave them because they were getting a lot of heat about this. That he showed that depicted bullet holes in like places that Panthers would have been firing at, to show that they were shooting a lot of guns. A photographer who had been at the actual like the apartment then sent his kind of like his photographs to the Chicago Sun-Times, and they published a one-page article saying those aren't bullet holes, they were nail heads. That like they had tried to pass off nail heads and doors as bullet holes. Like that's what the Cook County, that the Hammerhand, the Cook County the state attorney had tried to pass off evidence to the press and try to manufacture evidence. The police officers maintained that they were shot at a lot. They would describe kitchens as bedrooms because it made no sense how they like who they said that Fred Hampton was shooting a gun at them wildly, like kind of going back and like through the apartment when there's no evidence that he was.
How could he have? He was fed barbiturates by your guy. Like you knew that's it's bullshit.
So it comes out later. I mean, you have to kind of through the 70s, kind of the FBI monitoring of Fred Hampton. The floor plan comes out with the bed particularly detailed. That's the only real detail in the apartment. This is where Fred Hampton sleeps.
The smoking gun, as it were.
Well, and then also really the smoking gun is the informant. The Jalovec and the SBU unit say that they have their own informant and they have nothing to do with the FBI that gave us the floor plan. So we have nothing to do with the FBI. And they tried to say that their informant was this guy. They held out for like 10 years saying in court, like, we can't give up this guy's name because if we give up this guy's name, he will be under threat. And, with informants have special, protections.
Yeah.
And later it came out that they tried to pass off that their informant was this guy named Babatunde who had blown himself up using explosives like in 1969. And they were trying to use him as as like that he was the informant for all these years that they couldn't talk about. They went to Babatunde's mom's house. I may be messing up his name. They went to his mom's house and was like tried to say that she was under threat by the Black Panthers, and she was like no, and he would never have done that. And he like specifically went to the kind of the lawyers for like the Fred Hampton that were pressing like a civil case at the time, going like, no, that's all bullshit. Or they went to her. Like,
Babatunde, you said he blew himself up in 1969.
Yeah, like in 69 or 70. He was long dead. So it made So
because this is in December of 69 when Fred Hampton was killed.
Yeah.
And Babatunde, if he blew himself up prior to, how's he supposed to inform?
Yeah, it was in like the 70s. I don't know the exact date, but it's like right after this. Or it's not. I mean, it's he.
But it also makes sense that like as the course of the investigation goes on, you would want to say, oh, our informant is this guy who is conveniently dead, so don't bother asking him about whether or not he was our informant because he's dead.
Yeah.
And so it's like they could shoot it off to a dead guy because you can't talk to him.
Yeah.
Except for a Ouija board. I don't know.
Later, so that was kind of what forced like the state to like settle the case with the kind of attorneys for Mark Clark and Fred Hampton and all the rest of the Black Panthers. They also of course the police officers from the SBU denied ever meeting with Roy Mitchell. But then Roy Mitchell is a good FBI. He's like a by the book FBI guy, and is not afraid of that. He's basically been a part of an assassination. So he's like, yeah, I met with him. And then he said they met with him like 5, 6 times. And
damn.
And so that goes out the window. Also, Mitchell specifically remembers O'Neill drawing the floor plan. Now the controversy is whether Mitchell asked O'Neill to draw the floor plan or O'Neill just volunteered information, which makes no sense. It's probably that because if you show that like Mitchell had O'Neill draw a floor plan with Fred Hampton's bed, then pass it to the Chicago Police Department, who then carried out a raid and murdered the guy that you outlined. You have his bed outlined. That's just a murder. So they try to finesse that for a while.
Wait, who's Roy Mitchell again?
Roy Mitchell is the FBI agent that's running O'Neill.
Okay. All right. I see.
And then I think one of the most damning pieces of information is that evidence is O'Neill got a bonus after the raid for supplying information for a good rate. O'Neill himself, and this is never felt like it was a betrayal of Hampton or the group. Later recalling, I had no allegiance to the Black Panthers. He would later get, and I think sometimes he like plays like he was. I think he died later, or like in the 80s or in the late 70s or something. I think in the 80s. I think he would also like later be like he might have been regretful. But like from what the book is saying and how he testified, he didn't give a fuck. And he was later involved in a scandal with a Chicago detective. This is how he got found out as an FBI informant because they put in the paper, involving a Chicago narcotics detective and him, that they were kidnapping and murdering drug dealers. And O'Neill tried to say that he was forced into it by the detective, and the detective tried to play out of it. It was in 1982, the Justice Department, the city of Chicago and Cook County settled the $47 million civil suit filed by the survivors and the families of Clark and Hampton for $1.82 million. So, and I think it's like 6 or something, 6 or 7, maybe 8.
Wait, so they were sued by the survivors,
yeah,
and like the prosecution for $47 million.
They were
they tried to settle it for 2.
No, they did settle it for 2. They were sued by the lawyers for all like the Black Panthers. And they ended up selling it for 2, like about around $2 million, which I think today is like 6 or 7, or like around 6 or something like that.
But $45 million less than what was asked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They just, at this point, so if you want to go more into the trial, the state tried to pursue charges against all the Black Panthers for attempted murder of police officers. And then they like those charges got dropped. And then there was like a federal indictment against Hanrahan and the police officers. And then that went to a federal grand jury, and there's like some evidence that the federal grand jury was dropped in a swap for like the charges against the Black Panthers being dropped. So like this would all go away. And then later, they did a civil case, and that civil case lasted like a bunch of, I forgot how long it lasted. It lasted for a crazy amount of time. And then the case got dismissed because the judge was like basically not fair. He's an asshole. He was on the defendant's, the police's side. And then they took it to appeal. And then they did the appeal. And then from appeal, they got a kind of a new case. And then the information about that Babatunde guy, the informant, just kind of being like, this is bullshit. The judge was like, the judge was like, he told the state, the police, he was like, I highly recommend that you guys settle this case.
Mm.
And they came up with a number and they settled it. And that is kind of the story and how the life of Fred Hampton was lived and then was ended, and how he was assassinated by the FBI, Cook County State's Attorney Office, and the Chicago Police Department.
It's just sad, man.
Yeah.
It makes you think, like, what, he was 21?
Yeah, he was 21.
22?
He was 21. He was 3 years away. He was 3 years before, like, he was trying to get a black girl elected homecoming queen and a pool.
Yeah.
And then they
kids fed.
Yeah. And that's all he was doing. He's just trying to get kids fed, get people good health, get good health care.
But he clearly also showed promise. Like, he was a great orator. He went as far as to wake up early and read and memorizing speeches and everything. And here he is just showing an abundance of promise. And you just think about, like, what could he have done with his life if it hadn't been taken from him?
Yeah. They say that that kind of goes back to the J. Edgar Hoover stuff of preventing the rise of a black messiah.
Yeah.
They picked him out as somebody who could have been a messiah-like political figure for black people, or and really for black people, for Hispanic people, for white people, anybody of working class background. And they stomped it out because that's their directive, to maintain status quo.
That's the MO.
Yeah, and not justice, but to maintain status quo. And that's how the FBI operates. They operated then, and I think there's a lot of arguments they still operate like that a lot now. And that has been our episode on Fred Hampton, guys. We want to thank you for listening. We hope that like for this episode, we hope that you go out, like maybe you go out, you do something, just you volunteer, you fight for something, maybe not like and follow us also, but
rate and review also, and share,
but go do something.
But also contact your senator.
Yeah, contact your
about some relevant shit.
Yeah, man. Always remember, go out there and fight for something. Guys, you can follow, share our stuff. You can find us at Hard Fight History on Instagram. You can find us at Hard Fight History on Facebook. You can find us at HFH Podcast on Twitter, Hard Fight History at YouTube. You can find me at Joshua B. Stokes on Instagram and Twitter, and Joshua Stokes on Facebook. Henry, where can they find you?
You can find me Henry E. Price on Instagram, just Henry Price on Facebook.
I mean,
just real quick, it would be super funny if you just emailed your senator, even if no specific political message, although you should have something in mind. But if you were just like, yo, you heard about this shit, and just like,
and they're like, heard, I was involved.
I was implicated.
Yeah. All right. Well,
why do you think I got elected? All right. Yeah. My constituency loves that shit.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's weird because you look up some of the guys that, like, the FBI agent or like the cops that were involved in this shit, and like some of them like have like books, and it's like, I was a cop for a long time, like, and like there's like newspaper articles like in like Indiana, like celebrating this guy's life and achievement as his obituary. It's like, this guy all like he murdered youth. That was his bag. Like, but guys, we'll see you next time. Happy Black History Month.
Wait.
What
Selassie,
are we doing?
Right?
Yes, we're doing
Haile.
Next episode.
Is it Haile?
Haile Selassie. I'm gonna go by that. It's Haile Selassie.
Okay. Haile Selassie.
Haile Selassie. Right. Thank you guys for listening. That's what we're doing next week. Haile Selassie. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you for listening, and have a good week. I don't know when you're listening to this. We'll see you guys next time. Peace. All right.
Yep.